Today, we are going to talk about, we're going to indulge a question we got from our comment section so that you guys can know what the heck is up. So you're watching TitoFit. My name is Jared Conde, and in this channel we talk about health, we talk about fitness, definitely wellness of course, and living your best life as a Tito or a Tita. If you like that kind of thing, check this video out and consider subscribing. So what the hell is reverse dieting? We got this question recently in our comment section. So if you do want to get an answer to some of your queries, definitely put it in the comment section. If it's good, we'll make a video about it. So what is reverse dieting? You've heard of a lot of different kind of diets and all that, but I decided to talk about reverse dieting because we do talk about losing weight through a calorie deficit or a caloric deficit, and this is achieved by keeping your calories down. It depends, about 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance. So you find this number by looking for an online calculator, input your activity level. Check out our video on tracking your macros and flexible dieting if you want to get a primer on this. And then we have another video talking about how you actually can lose weight. So definitely we explain it there. And so you're gonna go for a caloric deficit based on that. Now what happens is, when you decrease your calories, if you keep your current activity level, your body is going to lose weight. So your body is going to lose weight through that caloric deficit. Now what happens is, as the weeks go by, you're going to lose less and less weight, even if you keep the same activity level and even if you stay in that deficit of your intake. So basically, for example, that your deficit is 1,700 calories or 1,500 calories on the really low end, and that your maintenance is 2,000 calories daily. So what happens is, 2,000 calories daily for intake, you reduce that to 1,500 or 1,700, but daily you are still burning, let's say, 2,000 calories since that was your maintenance. That 2,000 calories is a total of your thermic effect of food, or basically the metabolism from digestion that comes from your non-exercise activity. It also comes from your workouts. And then obviously just your basal metabolic rate, or the cost of keeping you alive. Okay? So let's say that stays at 2,000 calories. So given that, obviously, if you are at a deficit of about 500 calories per day, over a week, theoretically that will be 3,500 calories, which by the way is the equivalent of 1 pound of body weight. So given that, you'd lose 1 pound a week. Now, as the weeks go by, your activity stays the same, but then you notice that you're not losing as much weight. By the time you get to around week 12 or so, you're probably going to really be losing like maybe 0.2 of a pound instead of that 1 pound from the earlier weeks, or maybe 0.3. It really depends. So this depends primarily on your individual makeup, your hormones, things like that. Hormones like thyroid hormones, and other fat-burning hormones. So reverse dieting comes from, it's actually an old bodybuilder style. So bodybuilders would diet down for a contest for about 12 to 16 weeks. Very, very rigid, very, very rigid dieting. And at the end of that 12 weeks, they'd compete. And then after the competition, they'd take a break from their diet. So some people would call it a diet break, but most of what reverse dieting really where it really comes from is from Lane Norton. So bio Lane on his social media. He's a researcher, he's a doctor, he's a PhD, and most of his research comes from his nutrition research, and he has coached some elite bodybuilders and powerlifters, and he came up with this concept called reverse dieting, where after that 12-week dieting phase, you would start by gradually increasing calories on a weekly basis. So in the example that I set, the diet was down to 1,500. So at week number 13, they'd probably increase that by 150 calories. So it'd go 1,650. And then the week after that, another 150 calories to 1,800. So on and so forth, until he gets to a little bit above maintenance, from what I know about this, or maintenance. And the body, instead of plateauing, what they're saying, what reverse dieting claims, is that it's actually going to get leaner and start burning more fat. So this happens due to what is called metabolic adaptation. So your metabolism adapts to the diet that you're putting it through, and of course, your body is fighting against this because your body wants to be, somewhat healthier and not lose too much weight. With that being said, bodybuilders during their intense phases of dieting, used to work with a couple of them, and we always had this joke na kapag medyo matindi na yung dieta ng mga bodybuilder, medyo ayaw na masyado nakikipag-usap niyan, medyo mainit na ulo niya. So this goes to show na it's not sustainable to stay in a caloric deficit for too long. Like, in my opinion, 12 weeks is enough. But yeah, reverse dieting dictates that you can slowly increase your calories until you get to maintenance or slightly above maintenance calories. So that would be 2,000 or maybe 2,100. And then your body would still let go of fat, probably build a little bit more muscle, because it would now realize that the diet is over, that it actually does not have to keep all of the fat in. So that's the whole science from what I know about reverse dieting. But on the other hand, given that Lane Norton does coach a lot of bodybuilders and does the regular person need to go reverse dieting? Now here's what I think. From my experience, just the average person is probably not going to require a reverse diet, just because of the fact that, one, the average person's diet is probably not as rigid or not as disciplined as like your elite bodybuilder. So the elite bodybuilder, these guys have really intense discipline. One of my coworkers before, I'm not even joking, he would blend chicken breast just because he'd get tired na sakit na raw yung panga niya sa kakanguya ng chicken. So, bine-blender niya na lang yung chicken. Not even kidding. It smelled bad. I would never do it. So, but that's a personal decision. And I don't feel the need to diet down to levels of leanness that bad. So, for the regular person who's probably not even as disciplined as just someone who's been in the fitness industry compared to a bodybuilder, so you have this spectrum here where the bodybuilder would be the super disciplined one, and then you'd have like performance athletes who are on this spectrum, and then you'd have your average fitness enthusiast here, and then you'd have your regular average Joe here. So these people will probably not ever they'll probably not get to a point where they need to reverse diet. Now here's my experience. A lot of people say they've plateaued, that they're not losing weight. Here's my question. Number one, have you actually been that religious with tracking your macros or tracking your calories? Number two, maybe you are tracking your calories, maybe you are tracking your macros rigidly, but then, pagdating ng weekend, bye, I don't track macros, so wala na, yan na. I'll have like 2 boxes of pizza, weekend naman eh. Like maybe 1 slice of pizza or even 2 slices of pizza won't do much damage. But I've worked with some people before that really go overboard when it comes to the weekend. Yeah, they'll have 2 slices of pizza, and then they'll have a burger, and then they'll have a donut and some ice cream, all just because it was the weekend. So here's the thing. Maybe you're tracking properly for the weekdays, but then when the weekend comes, you go into such a surplus that the body actually ends up not being in a deficit anymore for that week. So you have to make sure that that's that. Number 3, I've also run into this. Some people, in their desire to lose so much weight, they overcalculate their calories. They find their activity multiplier. So yes, you are supposed to multiply it by an activity multiplier, and they're gonna say that they're highly active, whereas the truth of the matter is they work a desk job. So that would mean that the calories that they're consuming are way under to begin with. And of course, the lower or the bigger the deficit, yes, in the beginning, you will lose weight a lot faster. But over a long period of time, your body will adapt to it much faster as well, because your body will go into preservation mode. Personally speaking, I have a little bit of experience with this. Earlier in the pandemic, when the pandemic began last year, I was staying at home. So what I did by staying at home was, to create an easier deficit for me, I'd go on longer fasts. I'd go combine intermittent fasting with a caloric deficit. Now what happened was, would not eat for 16 to 18 hours, on some days even 20 hours. And then during the feeding window, that 6 to 8 hour window, I'd eat a lot of food. Now, initially when I started tracking my intake, I realized that my calories were way under, and that I wasn't actually meeting my protein requirements. So simply by adjusting my macros, by trying to hit my protein requirements much more often towards late last year, and then increasing my carbohydrates. Yes, increasing my carbohydrates. So I thought I was eating too little carbohydrates, and my fat. So my macros all went up, my calories went up. What happened was I started losing fat. So there's the thing there. I wasn't tracking previously during the start of the pandemic, but then yeah, I might have been way too underfed. I think my caloric intake was down to about 1,300, 1,500 calories. And take note, I'm not a small guy. I'm about 5'11", 175 pounds on average. So that would be way too low for me. And so I think I must have been victim to metabolic adaptation, which is why it's important to track. Now, when you track your macros, that's not to say that you're going to do that forever. That's not the goal. The goal is to have a good idea of what you should be eating on a daily basis to meet your macros, your macronutrients. Remember that. Most important, hit your protein, whatever remains in the calories, distribute between carbs and fat based on your dietary preferences. And of course, eat a lot of fiber, a lot of veggie. That's what I think of reverse dieting. It's not unless you're an elite bodybuilder or a bodybuilder who diets down really to lean levels, I don't think you're probably gonna need a reverse diet. Go for something more sustainable for you. Remember that. For long-term success, sustainability is the key to your diet. Find something that doesn't restrict you too much, that allows you to have the foods that you enjoy, while also the foods that you do know are good for you by making you healthier. So a lot of greens, a lot of veggies, a lot of lean proteins, things like that. A lot of natural whole food sources. And every now and then, have some snacks. Make sure that they fit your macros. Like just yesterday, I had some chips yesterday, but it fit my macros. So, if you like that video, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. And that's it, Titos and Titas. See you in the next one.